Jim Monroe. I'm your host for today. Not your speaker, but your host for today. So I want to welcome you all to OLLI. How many here are non-members? Very good. Welcome. Glad you could make it today. Hope you didn't have too much trouble finding us. So today, normally we ask you to turn off and put away your cell phones. So today I'm going to ask you to at least mute your cell phones or put them on vibrate. So, because some of you may want to follow along with what Jim is doing here. So today I'm going to introduce Jim Cenname. Jim joined OLLI in 2015 when his wife persuaded him to retire early at a young age of 57, very young guy. After a year of enjoying the many OLLI things that we've got here, Jim volunteered to start photographing our events, and he continues to do that today. We formed a photo resource committee in 2016, and Jim chaired the committee. As I recall, he was the one that wanted to get us going on that committee.
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
So Jim was the one that brought that to the board to form that, and he's taken charge of that to get the photos archived so we can use the photos in our various media, and you see the photos posted on the bulletin boards around here. That led to him volunteering to teach. And then he joined the Computer Education Committee. We have a very active Computer Education Committee here, which you can learn all kinds of things, and they provide help on Friday afternoons. And then he became a member of the OLLI Board of Trustees, where he serves today. Jim teaches classes such as Facebook 101. He even got me into Facebook, which is tough. eBay, online security, and safety. TurboTax 101, and soon ethics. He enjoys mentoring students, teams at the entrepreneurial program. One of OLLI's big activities is working with the students in the different colleges. Jim works with the students in the Mahalo College of Business, in the business school. Jim came to California in '82 from Pennsylvania. It took him longer than me to figure out that Pennsylvania and the Midwest were hard places to live. After he graduated from Penn State and Boston University, Jim's daughter happens to live in the area here, and so he wanted to be close. Smart guy. And I think his grandkids, as I recall.
Right.
Yeah, so another really good reason to be close. So a little known fact, so Jim was one of our computer whizzes, but he and his wife Ellen met on a computer dating service. So he is very invested in the computer dating, of the computer service, of the computer services. He met on Match.com in 2003. So please welcome Jim Cenname.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to ask you as I get started, how many of you are iPhone users? All right, looks to me, and how about Android or Google phone users? Okay, so it looks like, I would say it's probably 70-30, 80-20 in favor of iPhones. I'm an Android person myself, and I have a bias towards Google, okay? But my primary computer is a Mac, because I really like the Mac. The computer I'm using today is a Chromebook, which is one of Google's computers that they've come out with. So I want you to understand my biases, because during the presentation today, I'm going to express some opinions, and you can take those or leave it depending on what your biases are. But my bias leans a little bit towards Google and the Android apps. The screenshots that I'll show you today will be both for Google Android screenshots from the primary phone that I use, which is a Google Pixel. But also, reluctantly, I bought an iPhone to use for demonstration purposes. I bought a used one. And I'm going to make some commentary briefly a little bit about the iPhone versus the Android phones. And again, that's opinion, so you can take that however you would like to take it. But it is good to know that we've got 70 or 80% people I know what kind of phones you're using. And we're going to talk about apps today. Oops, logging here. We're going to talk about apps today, but I use Google's slide presentation software called Google Slides. And one of the reasons that I use Google Slides is because it has a closed caption feature. So as I talk, Google's listening to what I'm saying, and they're putting the closed captions up on the screen. Now, this isn't just to demonstrate the awesomeness of Google's computers, but in the demographic in which I'm presently present, and some of us are challenged with hearing. And one of the experiences that I've had in this particular meeting room is that I'm sitting up front, and some poor person is sitting in the back, can't hear well, so the mics get cranked up, and I have to put my earplugs in because it's so loud up front. And so I'm trying to use the closed captioning to help it. And it's kind of funny because even at home, when I watch TV nowadays, to keep the volume at a reasonable level, I turn closed captioning on. And it's amazing what you can see people say that I believe you never pick up on the TV, especially with the background conversations and noise and music. What I would like, though, is if you find that the closed captioning is distracting, I'd like you at the end of the presentation to let me know that. I'm trying to get some feedback. But anyway, I want to let you know that I use that. Also, I'm also try to save a few trees and reduce the carbon footprint that I create on the planet. And so I don't pass out paper flyers. So you can find a copy of this presentation at this link on the screen up here. And I'll show this link many times through the presentation, so you don't need to worry about rushing to write it down right now. The last slide of the presentation does have that link on it, okay? I use a link shortener, so it's bit.ly/apps-dir. Okay, there's a little bit of commentary before we get started. If you take a look at the United States, and you take a look at market share of the iPhone versus the Android phone, you can see through time, and what's relevant is today, is that in the United States, about 55% of phone users are Android phone users, the Google phone. 45% of the phone users are iPhone users, and a minuscule amount use a Windows phone or a flip phone. And I don't want to diminish the importance of a flip phone. I didn't ask how many flip phone users we have out here. I didn't want to embarrass you. But the point is that it's difficult to do what we're going to talk about today with a flip phone, if not impossible. But still, in the U.S., you've got a 55-45 mix of phones. But if you take a look at the world, 80% of the world's phone users are Android users, okay, which leaves only about 12% market share for iPhones. And there's a reason for that. Let's see if I talk about that reason here. Okay, I do. Is that the iPhone is a very exclusive product. Exclusive meaning that there's only a fraction of the world's population that can afford that product. And we being living in the United States, we have the benefit of living in a wealthy culture where many of us have the resources to be able to do that. And that's represented in the numbers that I showed you, as well as the informal poll that I did. The Android phone can be purchased, an Android phone can be purchased new for $100 or $150. I bought my 5-year-old demo iPhone 5S, so it's 5 years old, for $75 on eBay. And so you can still do it, but you're going to get, you can still, if you're not of great means, you can still get an iPhone. You just have to deal with a 5-year-old iPhone. So, and it's interesting, I was looking up some information on phones, and what I read of this article in Bloomberg News, it said that some academics did some research as to what, if there's a segment of the world that doesn't have a FICO score, because they live in a country that doesn't have a very sophisticated credit monitoring system. Africa, China, parts of Middle Eastern Europe, they don't have Equifax and TransUnion giving credit scores. We benefit from that because it's very easy for us to walk into the store and with our Social Security number and date of birth, they can lend us, they can sell us something that's very expensive on terms. You can't do that in some countries because they have no way of evaluating people's creditworthiness. And so what some academics did was wanted to see if you could evaluate somebody's creditworthiness by taking a look at their social presence online. And what they found was that if somebody used an iPhone to have a social presence online, they were on the 80th percentile in FICO scores, meaning they had an average FICO score that was better than 80% of the population. Whereas if they were an Android phone user, they were median, or 50%, right in the middle. And so that meant that the iPhone users were a better credit risk than Android phone users. So, and that's an interesting commentary, and again, it's because I think the iPhone is an expensive phone, and only people of means can afford to get one. All right, enough of the commentary. We're going to move on to apps right now. By the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me during the discussion. And if you feel as though I'm talking too fast, the words are scrolling too fast across the screen, please let me know. Also, we'll take a break. I think Russ told me about 10:30 we'll take a break. So, okay, so whenever an app is created, most of the apps that we use are free. We don't pay any money for it. When I say free, I mean we don't pay cash money for it. But there is no such thing as a free lunch. the app developers have to make some money in order for them to take the time to develop and support that app. Once they've created the app and they put it on the store for you to get, they need to maintain it so that it stays current, fix the bugs, things like that, and they need to earn a living. And so what you're going to find is that most app producers are going to want to integrate advertising into their app so that they can make money. And, you know, that's not a new concept. We've been reading newspapers and magazines and watching broadcast television for decades where we're watching advertisements. And so it's not a new concept that you have to subsidize the publishing of something with being able to use the advertisements to go along with it. And so I want you to be aware that as we talk about apps, I'll talk about how the app developers integrate advertising into the apps, because I want you to know that, because that's part of your decision process in whether to use that app or not. And there are some apps that you should be very cautious about using, and some apps that you may just choose to accept that you're going to be fed as. Now, one of the benefits of apps and the way we do advertising now online is that the advertisers can get to know us fairly well because of what's known as our data, okay? The value of them knowing our data is that they can be more efficient in advertising to us, more effective, because they know us better. The value of them knowing us better is that they can place fewer ads onto our screen in order to make the money they need to make in order to survive and continue to service that ad. If they were placing ads randomly on our screen, as we used to see on television and in the newspapers, they'd have to place many, many more ads than they have to place down in order to make that money. And so I want you to recognize both sides of this coin. Is they know more about us, and that may feel creepy to you. But because they know more about us, they're able to be more efficient in the advertising process, benefiting us because we have apps that we get to use for free, and because the ads we see can be more relevant. Okay? And no, I've never worked for an advertising company, so I'm not plugging that particular thing. I'm just recognizing the way it is. Okay, one of the things that the phone manufacturers give us is they give us the ability to control the access that those apps have to the information on our devices. And so we're taking a screenshot of an Android phone right now, and I'll go into this in greater detail later. But whenever you install an app on your phone, it will ask you, in order, depending on its functionality, what it offers to do for you, it needs access to different parts of your phone. For instance, if I download a navigating app, a navigating app is going to be of little use to me if it doesn't know where I am. I'll say, take me to Grandma's, and it knows where Grandma lives, maybe, and I'll talk about that, but it doesn't know where I am, so how can it plot that path, right? And so I'm going to talk about the various features of your phone that the app will want access to, and you will be able to control whether it gets access to those. But the challenge you have is giving it just enough control for that app to be functional for you, but not so much that you're telling it stuff you don't want it to know, okay? We'll talk about that in greater detail as we get into some apps. Now, speaking of apps, I took a look at some of the most popular apps that are out there. We're going to talk about some of these today. On the left-hand side of the screen, this is off of Wikipedia. Wikipedia, I think, is a great online encyclopedia. I asked it, what are the most popular apps on the Android operating system? And you can see that Gmail, Google Maps, Facebook, Google Search, Google Plus, which is an app that's actually going away. Google's going away with it. And those are the popular apps on the Android phones. Most of those apps are owned by Google. A couple of them are owned by Facebook. Facebook obviously does Facebook, but there's an app called Messenger down here, and that's a messaging app that Google or that Facebook makes that is helpful. And I'll show you some of the benefits of using Facebook's messaging app. If we take a look at the iPhone, the most popular apps on an iPhone, they start with Facebook, then with Facebook's Messenger, YouTube, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, WhatsApp, which is owned by Facebook, and then Google Maps. Okay, and I was talking a little bit about the access that Google Maps needs to. So we're going to talk about Google Maps a bit more today. Okay, now, why would someone want to use an app versus using the browser that already comes on your phone and just navigate to that particular service's website? So, for instance, the New York Times, I subscribe to the New York Times. I pay them money so that I can be able to read the news articles. Okay? Now I pay them $4 a month, which is not much money, so they're not making a ton of money on me. So as a result, the New York Times is still going to have to show me ads, just like the old days when I had the newspaper delivered at home. And I paid them a subscription fee, but that wasn't enough to keep them in business. So on the left-hand side of the screenshot we see is the app. On the right-hand side of the screen, I'm on my phone's browser, and I've gone to NewYorkTimes.com to the same story. And you can see they look very similar side by side. So I'm thinking, well, why would I need an app if I could just go to the browser? Well, the apps tend to give us some functionality that the browser's experience wouldn't. And so that's why I downloaded the New York Times app to my phone. And so, for instance, I've got the app up here. If I go to the settings on the New York Times app, and I click on settings, what it enables me to do is if I have a particular interest in news, I like this kind of news, but I don't like that kind of news, I can check off the various boxes, and so that whenever New York Times has an update on the news cycle, they'll send me notifications on my phone that says, hey, there's just some breaking news that you said you're interested in seeing breaking news, and so my phone will give you a notification saying, do you want to read the latest breaking news from the New York Times? And so I happen to have, in this case, the top stories and the morning briefing. I don't like politics, and so I don't check off the politics. And so whenever our president does something, I don't care. And it's not I have an issue with him, I just don't have an interest in politics. And so that keeps it off my notification list. The app will do that for you. Your browser experience won't. And so that's why I want to use the app on my phone. Okay, so how do we get apps? Well, there's one way to get, with Google phones, there are two ways to get apps. The primary way, the way that most of us will do it, is we're going to go to the Google Play Store. And that's going to be this symbol right up in the left, this corner right here. If we're on an iPhone, we're going to go to the App Store. And so we'll click there and we're going to download the app. Now with Google phones, you can also get an app from outside the store. Google and Apple vet their apps. It isn't a guarantee that they're perfect or safe or something's not wrong with them, but they have a vetting process that they go through. And so your preferred place to get your app should be from the App Store. But because Google's operating system is more open, someone can develop an app and provide it to you on their website. And you can just download it from the website and install it, and that's a possibility. Apple doesn't do that. They won't let you do that. And you have to get the iPhone's apps from the App Store. That doesn't mean that the App Store's apps are any better than the Google apps on their App Store. It's just that Apple gives you no other choice. Okay, so here we are. We're launching an app. What I've done is I've gone to the App Store and I said I want this app. I just happened to pick one called Gas Buddy. And I click the install button. And the first thing that pops up on my Android screen is it says, Gas Buddy wants access to your location services. So asking for my permission to be able to give it access to something on my phone. And I can accept that or not. The right-hand side of the screen is an iPhone. And so the question's the same. The way it proposes to you is a little different. And you can see that one of the choices is don't allow, if you choose not to. But I'm going to tell you that don't allow may limit the functionality of the app. Okay, so for instance, here's the Walmart app. If I give the Walmart app access to my GPS sensor in my phone, and then I want to know where the nearest Walmart store is, it can easily do that. Now, if I turn that feature off and I say, you may not have my access to my GPS, the only way that Walmart is going to tell me where the closest store is if I punch in the city name or the zip code. And of course, when I want to know where the nearest Walmart is, it's because I'm in a place where I don't live, and I don't know the zip code of where I am. And so here I am trying to type into my keyboard, Temecula, California, and I mistype certain things, okay? And so I'd much rather say familiar with this. I'm just going to have access to my GPS, and it's easy. I just say use current location. So that's one of the advantages, but I have to accept the fact then that that app may always know where I am. I walk into Walmart, I look at my phone, look at the latest New York Times article. Whoa, what about that? There's an advertisement from Walmart, okay? And we have to accept that, okay? If you read the terms and conditions for apps, and I'm going to show you some a little later in the presentation, they'll tell you that they're going to use this information to serve you ads, okay? And you can tell it no, but all no means is the ads they serve you will not be relevant to the information they collect. It does not mean they won't collect the information. They just won't use it, okay? I want you to be aware of that. But it's difficult. How can you tell Google, I don't want you to know where I am, but I want my GPS to work? It's not going to work, okay? Okay, so I'm back on Google right now, or I'm sorry, the Walmart app. And if I want to make some adjustments to Walmart's position, if I go to the settings box with the three lines up there, I click on that, a little dialog box in the middle shows up, and I see settings near the bottom as a choice, and I click that, and sure enough, location is one of the things that Walmart lets me turn on and off. Now there's another place I can turn this on and off, but the Walmart app lets me turn on and off location services. Okay? So that's how I can do it. Now, again, how could the navigation app work if it doesn't know, if I ask it to take me to a destination if it doesn't know what the starting point is? And so I'm going to tell Google Maps what my GPS location is. Now, if you want to make adjustments to all of the apps on your phone, you say, I don't want to open every app and make the adjustments to every app individually. With an Android phone, you go to your settings box, which is this little gear box here, and you click on that. And I scroll to apps and notifications. Right here on the red underline, something called permissions. When I click on this button, it takes me to this screen and it lists all the apps that I have on my phone, and I select an app that I want to make adjustments to the permissions on. So I click on, in this case, Facebook, and it brings up this dialog box. And in the middle screen, what we can see is this is Facebook's information about my phone. I click on that word called permissions, and it opens up on the right-hand side of the screen all of the permissions that Facebook could have on my phone. And I get to choose which ones I wanted to have or not. In this particular case, I only have storage turned on. But those three arrows that you see, camera, microphone, and phone, Facebook loses its value to me if it doesn't have access to my camera. If you take my Facebook 101 class, what I'll tell you is that the best posts that you can make on Facebook are ones that include a picture. If you've ever seen a Facebook post that is just text, it's not going to get read. You need something to entice people to read your post. And we'll talk about Facebook in greater detail. But the point is, in order for me to make a good post, I have to give Facebook access to my camera. Okay? And let's get down to microphone. Facebook has found that the most compelling posts that you can make are ones that include video. Pictures are good, video is better. How can you record a video? Well, you can record a video with sound, but a video without sound. But a video with sound is going to be more compelling. Of course, Facebook's going to need access to your microphone in order to be doing that. So if I want to be able to post videos on Facebook, I'm going to need to give them permission to use my microphone. Now, are they listening to me otherwise? I don't think so. Okay, I truly don't think so. But the point was, that's a challenging decision. You've got to make, and you have control as to whether to turn that permission on or off. Phone. Why would it need access to my phone? Well, one of the really nifty features about Facebook, and the other apps have this feature too, is that Facebook, you can make a telephone call without having without using your cell phone's phone feature. What Facebook's messaging service will do is allow you to make a phone call through the internet, not through the cell connection, but through the internet to somebody else. I was traveling one time and I was looking at my Facebook newsfeed and I found a friend that I'd gone to high school with. And so I sent him a message through Facebook. I said, "Hey Kevin, 40 years, how you been?" Right? And he's not going to answer that real quick. So next thing I look at my phone, and my phone has this ringing, but it's got this odd ringing. And I realized he's calling me through Facebook. He doesn't know my telephone number, right? How does Kevin, I haven't seen him in 40 years, right? Cell phones didn't exist then. He's calling me through Facebook. And so I realized this is really awesome because it gives you the ability to be able to have a telephone call with all of your friends that you don't know their telephone number for. Or the advantage to you is you don't need to give your telephone number to your friends in order for them to be able to give you a call. And that's one of the really nifty things about Facebook. You can message them. In fact, it's like a text message without knowing their phone number. You can give them a call, or they can call you without knowing your phone number. So it provides a little bit of anonymity, if you will, in communicating with your broader range of friends. Yes, question?
Okay, so my neighbor got a phone call from someone I knew. He says, I found the neighbor through, how did they find my neighbor? Was that through Facebook?
Well, I'll tell you what, I can answer that question, but I'm going to ask your permission for something. I'm cold, and so I'm going to put my hat on. I lose a lot of heat through my head. And so that's one of the challenges of life. So please, oh, I feel better already. Okay, so the question that you asked was, is that how does Facebook know my neighbor? And what Facebook does is that when you give it permission to know certain things about you, or you tell Facebook stuff about you, then it's going to use that in order to try to connect you to other people. Facebook's goal is to make money through advertising. And in order to make money through advertising, they need to keep you engaged in the platform. They need to keep you on Facebook. Well, the way they keep you on Facebook is by connecting you with people you know that are already using Facebook. And so, for instance, what happened in your particular case is that Facebook...
She wasn't on Facebook. She didn't have a Facebook.
How did she connect you? How did they know?
I don't know. She just said, I got a call from someone and they asked about you, and because they didn't have my phone number. So somehow they found my neighbor. And she goes, I don't know who this person is, but you just got a phone call, somebody asking about you.
I can't explain that. I'm sorry. I
Did
misunderstood
you
your
just
question.
Google, or that was so weird.
Yeah, I misunderstood your
It
question.
wasn't through Facebook then.
Where I was going with this was is that what Facebook will do is it'll look for commonalities in you would think with two strangers. They'll look for commonalities and they'll say, hey, if these two people have OLLI in common in their profiles, maybe they know each other. And so what you'll say is you'll see a suggestion from Facebook that says, do you know Joe Blow? I do not know Joe Blow, but they think I do because we both go to OLLI. And that required maybe that I told them that I was a member of OLLI, and so did Joe tell them I was a member of OLLI. Facebook's making a connection to try to engage us. I'll get into this in greater detail a little bit later when I talk about the Facebook app. Question in the back?
Yeah, you were talking about the phone calls, and can you then call Messenger? Can you just call a person in a different country?
Yes, and that's actually what's really cool about that is you can call people in a different country. Have you ever been to a hospital and your cell phone doesn't work? Happens to me a lot. It seems like in really big buildings, especially hospitals. And so if you needed to make a phone call from inside a building where you had no cell signal, Facebook will do it for you. If you want to send a text message, you can use Facebook's Messenger to send a message to somebody else on Facebook without a cell signal. Okay, so that's really cool about it. Did I answer your question? Okay, good. Yeah, and actually, Facebook owns WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is a messaging service that everybody except the people in the United States use, everybody in the world, because it provides a way to message somebody privately and securely without having a cell connection.
And it's free.
It's free, and that's true, it is free to use. Free to use meaning you don't pay money for it. Okay, I want to differentiate it because there is a cost, it's not money. Okay, so if we switch over to the iPhone, we go to the gearbox on the iPhone, and we do that, and we scroll all the way to the bottom, and we'll see a list of all of the apps that are installed on our phone, and we just click the app that we have installed on our phone, and the last screen you can see on the right-hand side is where you can turn permissions on and off. So with the iPhone, you start at the gearbox, after you click that, you slide all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see all your apps that you got installed, and you touch one of those, and that's where you can adjust the permissions on it.
So you have to do each one?
Yes, you do, individually, that's correct. Okay. Question?
A moment ago, this lady talked about cost of some type. Are you going to address cost apps versus non-cost apps and the quality or risk thereof either?
The man asks about apps that cost money. I don't generally talk about apps that cost money on the qualified because most of the apps that I use cost me no money to get. Although with Wall Street, with the New York Times, I can download the app for free, and the New York Times will allow me to read 10 articles per month for free, but after that I need to subscribe. But there are certain categories of apps where I will tell you, you need to pay for it. You need to buy an app. You don't want to use a free one because you'll get more privacy with the money when you pay the money. The one I'll specifically talk about a little later in the presentation is called Virtual Private Network, or VPN. You do not want to use free VPNs because they need to make their money somewhere else, and they're probably going to use your data to feed you ads. With a VPN, if you pay money for it, you'll find that you have a level of privacy. And the reason people use VPNs are for privacy. And I'll go into greater detail about VPNs.
Is there a broader definition or separation between cost and no cost, like one is for solitaire, no cost, and if you bought a solitaire?
You're right, and some of them, for instance, some of the apps, what happens is you get the free or light version. They give you some of the features. Like I use a program, an app called Lightroom to edit my images. Well, the free version of Lightroom gives you this and that, and this and that, but I want the really heavy-duty controls on the images, so I have to pay $2, just $3 to get the expensive version of the app, if you will, expensive, to get those extra features. So that's a good point. And I don't discuss that a lot today. But it's true that if you want to pay a couple extra bucks, you'll get features, and that's what will draw you in with the free version. It's the light version.
Thank you.
Okay, so using the map, the Google Maps app, I think many of us are familiar with mapping, but I wanted to give you some great detail about some of the apps, especially the Google Maps app, which I think is a tremendously valuable app. So if I launch the app and I type in a location that I want to go to, I'm going to type in Cal State Fullerton, and although I only typed in Cal State University, search terms come up and I can choose from because Google's trying to guess what I want to know. But you'll notice that at the top of my list, that okay, so anyways, I type in my interesting search terms at the top, and because I let Google remember stuff about me, what it does is it starts bringing up search terms that it thinks I want to see. So for instance, you see that Cal State University Fullerton is at the top of the search results, the first one for me to choose. And that could be because of one or two reasons. Number one, I've logged into my Google account, and so it knows I Google for Cal State Fullerton a lot, or geographically, I've given it access to my GPS. Remember, it is a mapping app. So I've given it access to my GPS, and it knows that I happen to live near Cal State Fullerton. So that's going to be first in the search results. So I choose Cal State Fullerton, and sure enough, it zooms me to the location, okay? So now what I do is I click on the little red bubble. And so when I click on the little red bubble, it brings it up, and it'll give me down at the bottom. It happens to know the business hours of the organization, and I can click on the directions. But I'm not going to do navigating with this. What I want to show you is some of the other features of Google Maps other than navigating. Okay? If I click in the overview, when I go back and I click on the little red button and I swipe up from the bottom of the screen, it's going to expose more information. It's going to expose more information about Cal State Fullerton. So I'm on the Overview tab right now, and you'll notice that Share, the second box down says Share, it's got the universal symbol for sharing. If I click on that, and I want somebody to meet me where I'm going, hey, I found a great restaurant, let's meet there. Instead of giving them directions or typing in the address, I can click on the Share button and share this location, specifically on Google Maps. And it is a very automated process where it creates a little link. It'll launch your text messaging service for you to share that location so that you can get somebody to meet you there very easily. You'll notice if you scroll down to the third place right here called You Visited Today. Okay, so I've given Facebook or I've given Google certain permissions. So it knows that I have been at Cal State Fullerton today, and it's remembered it, and it's reminding me. And that's because Google Maps has a feature called Timeline. And I'm going to go into a little greater detail about Timeline, but I personally love it. Okay, and I'll tell you why a little later. So it knows when I've been here, and it keeps track of that. And then if you go down a little bit further to the information, that telephone number is a hyperlink. So if I click on that telephone number with my finger, it's going to launch my phone app, which is the little phone symbol. That's an app on your phone. It's going to launch my phone app and populate the field with a phone number so that I can make a phone call. So when I want to make a phone call and I don't know the phone number, I usually go to Google Maps because Google Maps tells me so much about that particular business, including the phone number, so I can give them a call. And down below, there are a lot of images. So for many times whenever I want to go visit a particular place and I'm driving on the street, I want to know what the building looks like. Okay? And so it gives me those pictures. And by the way, these pictures are not put there necessarily by Google. I mean, Google's got the car that drives around everybody's neighborhood with the camera on top, mapping the streets. But many, many, many of these pictures are not placed there. They're placed there by people who have reviewed the particular organization. And that's what Google, because of my integration with Google, it asks me, Jim, do you want to give a review to Cal State Fullerton? So I might give it a review, and then it'll ask me if I want to upload pictures, and I upload photographs that I've taken. So many of these are users or customers' pictures. Now, I happen to manage, well, maybe I talk about this here. Okay, I'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, so Google Maps. Yes, question?
You were talking right before about Facebook, where you needed a phone number. Now you're talking about Google, where you need a phone number?
Yeah, so for instance in Google, typically in Google Maps, I'm looking for businesses, organizations that publish their phone number. I mean, all Cal State Fullerton publishes his phone number to the public because it wants people to call it. You and I may not want the public to know our phone number, and so I can use Facebook to call somebody who I don't know their phone number. But with Google Maps, if I have an organization like Cal State Fullerton and I don't know their phone number, I'll punch in Cal State Fullerton and it'll tell me everything I want to know about Cal State Fullerton, including the phone number. Now, when I click on the phone number in Google Maps doesn't make the call. It takes the phone number, populates your phone app on your phone. Everybody's got a phone app on their phone. And then you can push the dial button and it dials the number. So it takes that number, copies it over to your phone app. Okay? That's not what Facebook does. Facebook makes the call through the internet using its own app. Yes?
For instance, you're traveling, you have an accident, you need to call AAA or you need to call the hospital.
Yes.
Facebook would be the best choice.
Facebook would not, because what I would do, because those are public organizations, is I would go, I could go to Google Maps, and I would just type in local hospital, and bring up all the local hospitals. I pick the one I want, and I touch on that hospital's name, and it's going to show me the phone number. I would do it, could do it, and that, quite frankly, there's a better way to do it, but to illustrate my point about Google Maps, is I would go to Google Maps, not to Facebook. Now, if I wanted to call someone that I don't know their phone number of, that I'm friends with, I would use Facebook. How am I going to call them if I don't know their phone number? I'll use Facebook. Okay? Oh, yes, Carol.
Does the person you're trying to call that you don't know their phone number, do they need to be on Facebook?
They do. They need to be your friend. They need to be your friend on Facebook, yes. And Facebook will not show you their telephone number, but it will make the connection. So you can call your friends on Facebook. Yes, Don.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I'm sorry. What Carol said is that when you want to make a call on Facebook, does the person need to be on Facebook that you're calling? Yes. Not only does the person need to have a Facebook account, but they need to be your friend. Okay? Okay, so back to this slide. Baseball picture. My wife is a baseball fan. When I married her, she said I have to start going to baseball games. And so we started going to spring training baseball games in Phoenix every year. It's a lot of fun, it really is. Albert Pool is up there in the top left corner. Okay. So what we do is we take our RV and we drive to Phoenix and we stay in a campground in Phoenix and we go and we visit a bunch of parks. And what I did is I mapped the route from here to Phoenix, and I have to stop at least one gas station between here and Phoenix to fuel the truck up. And one of the challenges that I have as a relatively new RV driver is that I'm not really, really good at driving the RV yet. I'm a little tentative about backing it up, always worried about scraping the roof on something. This thing is really tall. And so what I do is I use the satellite feature and I check out the gas station that I plan on going to see if I can get the RV through it. And so in this particular case, I mapped out a gas station about 150 or 200 miles from home in Quartzsite, Arizona. Gas is a little cheaper on that side of the border. And so then I go on the satellite view and I take a look at the satellite of that chevron and think, wow, that's awesome. Not only can I get the RV through the pumps easily, and then I can drive around the back of the station and back out. I don't have to do any backing up. Is that there's lots of room around the periphery. We can stop and we can go back to the RV and have some lunch. So I've got room to park. And so I use the mapping app with satellite view so that I know that I can get my RV in and out of the fuel station. And so it's been very valuable to me in my traveling. And you'll notice that in the little red boxes that it happens to tell you the price of the gasoline at that gas station. Yes, question?
I've been following you. How do you get rid of that thing?
What thing?
The dot up there.
The red dot?
Yeah.
Well, you have to, what happens is I end up going backwards and eliminating the search. It's because I searched for gas stations that red dot stays there. But if I were to hit this back, the man asked, how do you get rid of the red dot? If I hit this back button here, it would take me back to a blank screen. And then what happens is I'm not searching for anything, so there's no red dot on the map. Now, if I have to go and try to find Quartzsite, Arizona, I have to do a bunch of scrolling on my screen to go to find Quartzsite, Arizona. Okay, so I ended up just searching for gas stations in Quartzsite, Arizona. But I can't get rid of the red dot without backing out all the way. Okay? Okay, so that's what's tremendously valuable to me about traveling with Google Maps. And by the way, if you travel into the woods with Google Maps, no cell service, Google Maps will allow you to download that map in advance to your phone so that your navigation doesn't run out. Okay? Because normally that map is just streaming to you over the cell phone service as you travel. But if you're going to travel out in the backwoods somewhere, sometimes if you're plotting your route, Google says, hey, you know, there's spotty cell phone service out there. Do you want to download the map to your phone? And you'll do that at home while you're on Wi-Fi, and it downloads a big file. Did you question that?
When I click on the icon for Google Maps,
Yes.
and I use it all the time,
Yes.
does that mean that I'm on Google app? Is there a Google app different than just the icon, or is one and the same?
Well, what happened, the man's asked the question about when I click on the Google Maps app, am I on Google? Google offers a variety of services with all its different apps. The Google Search app, the Google Maps app, lots of different Google services. And in order to benefit from any of the services, you can create an account with Google. And so your account is kind of like a Gmail address, except you don't have that Gmail address, you have a Google account. So then once you log into Google, then Google is learning more about you, and it knows it's you. So it's collecting this information with your name on it, so to speak. And so anytime you log on, no matter whether you log on with your phone or your computer, as long as you log in with your account, then that information travels with you, and Google can remember whether I'm on my computer or on my phone. When I'm logged in, it knows where my home is. It knows all that stuff. If you don't log into Google, then it's a little bit more mysterious. It collects information about you, but that information is only relevant to the machine. So for instance, if I don't log in my Google account, but I do a Google Maps search on my phone, all Google knows is that that phone is collecting information about that phone, and it will feed ads to that phone based on what it knows about the phone's location, where the phone's browsing history is. And that won't get conveyed to your computer when you move your computer. But the point is that it's not, Google Maps is not the same as Google Search. It's not the same as Google Slides, which I'm using here. All services by Google, and I'm sure that all that information is getting shared. Okay, but they're different apps that Google offers. I hope I answered that question. Okay. Okay, so timeline. I want to tell you about timeline. I love this. You'll probably find it creepy. It's because I let Google watch me, or track me wherever I am. And so what happens is my wife and I, a couple of years ago, we took a vacation to Vienna, Austria. Vienna's in Austria. Okay. And so this is a trip on a particular day as I wandered around the city from our hotel, which is the red dot, to the various sites that we saw that day. And I can look at that today, and it's reminiscent, it reminds me of where I traveled on that particular day. The hotel we stayed in was the La Prima Fashion Hotel in Vienna. And so I like that because it's kind of like a travel log to me. It helps me remind me of what I did, and I enjoy that. In the right-hand side of the screen, if I were to swipe a certain way on the center screen, I get a view, as you would see on the right-hand screen. It gives me a chronological order of what I did that day with a little bit more detail. Started out the day at the La Prima Fashion Hotel in Vienna. I took my picture with my phone while I was at the hotel, and that picture becomes associated with where I was because the picture was taken with my phone, a geotag is on the picture, a timestamp is on the picture. Google knows where I was at that time and date, and it puts the two together. My phone's camera, picture, linked with my Google Maps, so that I can see the picture of where I was. And so I can see, as I traveled through the day, that I visited a particular site, Then I went to this particular restaurant and had some tasty pastries for lunch, and I can't remember what they're called. But it tracks, I enjoy this. This is my photo album, if you will. I really enjoy it. And I didn't tell you, that, and I've been doing this for many years, I don't feel taken advantage of. Although I do believe that I'm informed about what Google knows about me. Okay, and yes, I am seeing a lot of relevant ads. Judy?
So that, when you take a picture of that, it automatically puts the date and the time of that picture, and then it associates it with that trip?
Yes, exactly. So whenever you take a picture with your phone stamps the picture. It's called metadata. It stamps it with the date and time you took the picture, and if you've given your camera permission, it stamps it with the GPS location. And I really like that because whenever you go and you look at your photo, in a photo album thing, it'll tell you the time you took the picture and where you were. And what Google does is it uses that information to put it on your timeline when you're traveling. And so I really find that. But yes, so if you were to send somebody a picture you took with your phone, they could, if the metadata is being traveled with the picture, they can tell where you were and when the picture was taken there.
And that made that map happen. That made that map happen on the left side of the screen?
What happened was is the picture has the data in it.
Right.
The map, I told Google, I want you to do this for me. Google said, hey, would you like me to take your pictures and put them on your timeline? I said, yes, please do that. And so Google Maps timeline feature combines this information to display it on the screen like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Google just using GPS when you're in Austria, or do you have to have internet access from a local Austrian provider to make that work?
Actually, that's a good picture. If you were in, generally speaking, Google is using GPS on your camera. So it has GPS coordinates on your camera. When you're trying to use the mapping app, which means you've got the image of the map there, if you have not downloaded that map in advance, what happens is Google, the phone has to go out on the cell service, your internet cell service, and download that map. So if you're in Europe and you're trying to use Google Maps, you either have to have local cell service in Europe for it to download those maps, even though the GPS works, because the GPS is just talking to a satellite in the sky. So Google knows where you are GPS coordinate-wise, but it can't illustrate the map to you on your phone unless you have a cell connection to download the map data, okay? But what Google will say is, you can download that map data in advance when you have a Wi-Fi connection. Well, what I would argue to you is when you're in Europe especially, go to a T-Mobile store and buy a $10 data SIM, put it into your phone, and you've got internet access no matter where you are in the city. Thanks for the prompt, Daryl. Okay, so timeline, I love it. I think it's a great feature. I click on La Prima Fashion Hotel, and just like Yelp, what Google's going to tell me is they have ratings. It'll tell me what the hotel was like. And as a matter of fact, in the middle of the screen, you can see that I was there September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2015. And if I want to book the room again, it has links to several travel agency services so I could book the room again. And again, that's competing with Yelp. Yelp offers those same services. Question?
Is timeline using memory on your phone or is it from the?
Oh, typically almost all this data is stored in the cloud on Google servers. Okay, yeah, there's just not enough room on the phone for all this. Typically what you're going to have on your phone will be a little bit of data from the app. Plus, if I took the pictures using my phone, the picture is on my phone. Now, I programmed my phone to upload those pictures to the cloud and then delete them from my phone. How many of us have ever got those messages, especially on an iPhone? Your phone is full, I can't take any more pictures. What you need to do is you tell it to send those photos to the cloud and then delete them from your phone. Question to that?
But then you have to buy data.
Yeah, the woman's talking about what happens if you upload to the cloud, you have to buy something. Well, typically, many of the cloud services, both Apple's cloud service, iCloud, or Google's service, the cloud, Google Photos, you get a certain amount of storage for free. No cost to you, no financial cost. Google and Apple both use your data, okay, to try to sell you. But there's no financial cost. But what I do is I pay Google $2 a month, and it gives me a ton of data, so I don't even worry about it. $2 a month. So yes, the cloud can cost you a little money.
So to turn on the timeline feature, I went to Google Maps and hit the 3-line thing, and then timeline, and it's telling me location services permission is not set to always, and that it can't function properly if you don't allow Google Maps to access your location while in the background. My main question would be then, okay, if I change that, battery life, how does that?
What Janelle's asking about is that Google, in order for Google Maps to track me all the time, it has to know where I am all the time. But in order to save, well, either for both privacy or to save some battery juice, is like the iPhone will say, only let GPS track my location when I'm using the app that needs my GPS location. Once I leave that app, it no longer has access to the GPS location. So for instance, if I were using the Walmart app, I would have that feature turned on, only let it use the GPS when I'm using the app. But with Maps, my timeline isn't going to work if Google doesn't always know where I am, even when I'm not using the app. Okay? But what Janelle's question was, is that using more battery juice? Yes, it is, but in my personal experience, it's insignificant. It's tracking, Google, my GPS service is always running.
How do you find out, where do you find out that I only wanted to do it at certain, because it just said location, but it didn't.
Right. But on the iPhone specifically, I can tell you on the iPhone specifically, whenever you choose, you actually have a choice. And I'm sorry, you can't easily get to it, but with the iPhone, you actually have a choice. When you scroll to the app and you check for location services, the three choices you have are no, all the time, or when I'm in the app.
Oh, so I have to click on the location.
Well, you have to go and
It just says on the app.
well, yeah, on, do you have an iPhone?
No.
Okay, yes, I'm not sure, I'm not sure in that case whether you have a choice beyond on and off.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Apple's map in order to be fair. Let's talk about Apple's map. Apple decided to stop using Google Maps several years ago, and they implemented a mapping service that was a flop at first. But like all new things, it takes a little while to develop it and make it better, and I recognize that they've been doing that. What Apple Maps does, though, is it still has a much smaller feature set than Google Maps, okay? But if you're just trying to navigate to somewhere, it works just fine if you want to get from point A to point B. What I did with Ollie is I went into Apple Maps and I created an Ollie site so that if somebody types into Apple Maps, Ollie Cal State Fullerton, they'll find the entity that I created and it'll take you to this building exactly, okay? So Apple Maps works in that way. And what Apple does in order to compete with Google and provide you some reviews is it partners with Yelp. And so, for instance, if you go to Apple Map, you find a business, you want to learn a little bit about that business, as you can see in this corner down here, if you click on those reviews for Apple Maps, it's going to take you to Yelp and ask you to launch the Yelp app. So that's their ability to try to offer you more in the Apple Maps. I'm biased towards Google anyway, but Apple Maps still has a limited feature set. But if it works for you, hey, that's great, okay? It still needs the same kinds of permissions that Google would in order to know your location. Okay, 5 minutes to break. Before we leave navigation, there is one navigation app that I'd like you to know about, and that's called Waze. Waze has some features that other navigation apps don't have, and some characteristics. Waze happens to be owned by Google. Google bought them a few years ago, and for the middle screen, you can see they're asking, as soon as I install the app, do I have permission to use your location? I have to give it to it. What's nifty about the Waze app is you can see in the lower left-hand corner, it will give you the current speed limit of the road you're traveling on, as well as the speed at which the phone is traveling. And so that's really kind of nice. Google Maps just recently started implementing speed limits, so you can see the speed limit on the road you're traveling, but it doesn't tell you how fast you're traveling, although in theory you can look at your speedometer. But the thing is that Waze offers this feature. And the other thing I like about Waze, though, is after I do my search, it's sensitive to high occupancy vehicle lanes, carpool lanes. And so when you're traveling, many times Google Maps will give you an estimated time of arrival based on the general flow of traffic. But somehow it seems as though Waze is more, and quite frankly, I look at my map, and the place I've never been, Google Maps doesn't tell you where there's a carpool lane. And so I just don't know. Whereas Waze takes into account the carpool lane, so it knows it's more informed. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see those little colored dots by the 91 freeway. Those are what's known as Wazers, people who use Waze. What you do is you can create an account with Waze, as you do with many of the apps you do. And what people do is they tend to have a social interaction on the Waze app. So what they'll do is they'll talk a little bit about what they've seen along the road, the road conditions, or some truck blew a tire and there's debris all over the freeway. And so you'll see these people exchanging this information, social information on the Waze app, okay? And one of the things that the Wazers do is they'll warn you about police that they happen to see on the route. You see the little police icon there that's highlighted in the middle? I remember in the old CB days. CB days, what was it? Smoking on the 91 freeway, that's what they used to do. Well, now we got Waze to tell us what the cops are. But sure enough, the cops got mad because people were pointing out the drunk driving checkpoints. And so the city of New York, it looks like, demanded that Google and Waze quit reporting the location of police. I don't know that actually is going to happen, but the point is that that's how Waze can be used. And you don't see those features so much on, I don't see them at all on Google or Apple Maps, okay? Well, generally, one of them had to do with what apps can you use when you don't have an internet connection. And many apps, the internet connection is pretty valuable. But there are some apps that just don't need internet. Maybe they're talking, like for instance, I have a Fitbit, which is my watch. My watch talks to my phone, and it keeps track of the exercises that I do. As long as they are in close proximity, they're talking to each other via Bluetooth, and so they don't need the internet. Okay? But if you need to communicate with the outside world, where your phone needs the outside world for data, then it needs the internet. So, for instance, if I go to a place where my phone can't get the mapping service, it has a harder time. It has a harder time with my timeline. Sometimes the data isn't as good as it needs to be. If you are relying on emergency services, you're driving for a great distance. When I drove to Mammoth, a long part of the 395, I didn't have cell phone service. Well, if I have a flat tire, I'm messing it up. You know, my phone is not going to help me. I made my map able to tell me where I am because I downloaded the map in advance to my phone. I know where I am, I can't make a phone call, so I just have a problem, just like the old days, right? I have a problem. So the data is very important. So to Daryl's point that he made earlier, is if you go to places where you don't have your US data, go and buy a SIM at the T-Mobile store, or better yet, what you could do, is you could cancel your service with Verizon and AT&T, go get T-Mobile service because their service out of the box works in 140 countries. And and you can give you free data in many parts of the world. Not very fast data, but free data. So there are ways that you can make your phone work better for you. Jim's making the last call on the side of it. There are ways you can make your phone work for you when you're out of the United States, okay? So, onward. Oops. All right, so we're going to, oh, by the way, to the point that Jim made about fraud online, there are a lot of risks. The internet connects us so much more intimately that if we're a little naive or uninformed, there are risks of using the internet. And I recognize those. And what I'm trying to do in this presentation is two things. Make you aware of the risks. But I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you make informed decisions so that you can get the most out of your devices and the apps that you're using. I'm cautious. I'm a very risk-averse person, and so I do a lot of reading and research on this stuff to make sure that what I'm using is as safe as it can be. And I recognize when I give up data, I got to live with the consequences of that data. But I need to tell you, no app has ever asked me for my Social Security number. Okay? And so that is one of the three pieces of data that you need in order to get credit. Okay? The other piece is your birth date, and I'm cautious as to who I give my birthday to. We're going to talk about Facebook right now. And of course, now that I'm a grandfather, one of the most valuable uses of Facebook is sharing the pictures of my grandkids with people who normally wouldn't be able to see those pictures. The other thing that I personally use Facebook for is I don't have a very good sense of humor, but I'm working on it. Since I've been retired, I'm working on it, okay? And so I try to be witty if I can be, okay? This particular post isn't witty, but the way we start Facebook is and I'm an advocate of Facebook, by the way, and I'll tell you why a little later on, is that the primary function of Facebook is for us to share with people who we are friends with. And that word friends, I'm going to use very loosely because it is a very, very broad range when you think about Facebook friends. But we want to share information, and we want to learn about other people's information. So we need to be willing to do that. And I'm willing to do that. And maybe I'll tell you a story about what changed me, because I used to be very paranoid, very private, wouldn't tell anybody anything. And I started a business, and then all of a sudden you're trying to sell your services to make a living and put dinner on the table. You want people to know about your business. And so I recognized I needed to share more about myself. Anybody who's ever been in sales recognizes the value of getting to know somebody well. Okay, so making posts. So what Facebook does is they have a feature. When you put the app on your phone, they have a feature that they'll always take you to, the very first place they'll take you is to your news feed. And the news feed, it has the word news in it because it's like a newspaper, in that what Facebook is doing is it's accumulating information that it thinks you want to see, and it's putting that information into what you call news feed. And so you launch the app, it immediately takes you to your news feed where it's sharing with you information it thinks you want to know. And it's sharing information that it thinks you want to know because it wants you to spend time there so it can show you advertisements. Okay? So what happens is I've got Facebook friends, I've made some Facebook friends, and even if you don't have Facebook friends yet, it's still going to show you stuff in your news feed. But I've made some Facebook friends, and so in the top left-hand corner, a friend of mine, Mary Alice, here at OLLI, is sharing a photograph of her grandchild with her friends on Facebook, and it shows, and she's made that post on her Facebook page. Down at the bottom here, my friend Warren, who I play poker with on Fridays, he takes a dog walk every day and puts a picture of some pretty house in Fullerton on his Facebook page. And so he does that. I've got a friend I worked with 25 years ago. I connected with him on Facebook. He makes a post about him and his girlfriend or his wife, I'm not sure which, and he made that on Facebook. Here's Donna Judge. She's in the Aldi Focus Photo Club with me, and she's showing a picture of the beach with a handicap walk. So each of these people have gone to their Facebook page. They've made a post on their page. Because we are friends, Facebook sees that connection amongst us, and it gathers this information from my friends, and it puts it into my newsfeed for me to see. I wouldn't have seen it if I weren't maybe weren't friends. Now, since Donna and I both belong, and Warren, and Aunt Mary Alice all belong to OLLI, and we told Facebook we're members of OLLI, Facebook would have made that connection too. Even if we weren't friends, it might say, do you know Donna Judd? Because we know you both of you guys go to OLLI, and it would suggest Donna is a friend. And again, they're trying to increase my engagement with the platform to stay there. So these 4 posts that people made, and remember, what I want you to know is when you make a post on Facebook, you are not sending that information to anybody. You are not purposely sending it. Facebook is taking it, applying the algorithm, and providing it to somebody in their newsfeed because it thinks that person wants to see it. Okay? So what that also means is that whenever you say, hey, I'll send this picture of my grandson to my daughter on Facebook. No, you don't. If your daughter friended you, and she may see it in her newsfeed if you post it. Quite frankly, it's likely that she'll see it, but there are ways that you can influence what you see in your newsfeed or not. Because Facebook doesn't want to show you stuff in your newsfeed that you don't want to see. If it did that, you'd stop using Facebook. Okay, so this is one of the situations where Facebook has gotten to know me a little bit because I've made some friends, I've told Facebook a little bit about some of my interests, and so Facebook says, do you know these people? And it says, Donna, Ryback, and it knows that we have 3 mutual friends. Now, I happen to know Donna from whenever I was in business, and she was a business associate, but I've never made her a personal friend, and so he's asking me, because we have mutual friends, if I want to make her a friend. Again, Facebook's trying to increase that engagement. So what happens here is I've got 3 posts that I've made over recently, and in the first post, what I'd like you to notice is up at the top, red bar there says, I was at Mountain High Ski Resort, okay? So what happens is when I made this post on my page, Facebook, I took my camera out, put it in selfie mode at the top of the mountain, I snapped a picture of me, okay? And because Facebook could see that from the image that I was at Mountain High, it says, do you want to tag the picture? And as soon as I say yes, it knows where I am, and it says, which of these exact locations do you want to tag with? I pick Mountain High, and it puts that in, and I'll tell you the value of that later. So it says, Jim Cenname is at Mountain High. And I try to make some witty comment about, I had some surgery recently, the doctor said, don't lift anything heavy. He didn't say anything about not getting on a ski lift. So the friends of mine who knew I had surgery recently, they made the connection. It was an inside joke, right? But still, at least I was witty with them. And sure enough, the way that I know that I'm making a reasonably good post, and what I'm trying to do is lighten other people's lives, right? We share stuff with friends, we want to lighten their lives. You've probably gotten emails from friends of yours who will send you a joke or a cartoon, an email. I get them lots from Dennis. We play poker together, so he's sending me poker jokes. This is my way of sharing that inside joke with a friend, okay? And what they've done is they've sent their appreciation back to me by either liking my comment, my post, or if they really liked it, they made a comment on it. In the middle post that I made, I'm in McDonald's in Brea, and I see a couple of older kids playing on their devices, right? You know, kids have that problem, always have their faces in their devices. I see a couple of older kids here with their faces in their devices, so I said make some comment, and I had 24 people that commented or liked on it, so I know that I add a little humor to their day, and they showed that appreciation by liking or commenting on my posts. The right-hand post, I'm at home, I love to have peanut butter and jelly toast, right? So I pop some toast out of the toaster, I'm spreading my peanut butter on it, and I take my peanut butter laden knife, I stick it in the jelly, and I get my jelly, and of course I leave some peanut butter in the jelly jar. My wife hates that. Okay? So on top of the jelly jar, she puts no PV, right? So I think this is kind of funny. I snap a picture of it, put it on Facebook, and lo enough, behold, other domestic people have this domestic problem too, right? So into their lives, I brought a little bit of humor on a common problem we have. You know, we always think we're the only ones with that problem. No, everybody's got some of the problems we think. And so what they do is they make, a bunch of people make comments. Yeah, my spouse hates it too, and they like it. Okay, so that gives me that appreciation. And by the way, when people like my posts, Facebook says, that person likes Jim's post, I'll keep showing that person Jim's posts. But if you're a person who isn't used to giving the thumbs up and the like button, Facebook hears what you're saying, you don't like that person. And eventually, Facebook will stop showing you posts from that person because you don't like the posts. Now, if you don't like anybody's post, Facebook, they're guessing, okay, what does this person really want to see? They're struggling, and so your newsfeed will be more random, less valuable to you. And so I'm encouraging you that if you are one who will browse Facebook, take a look at your friends, and give them a like button, you're helping Facebook choose the algorithm, choose stuff that you want to see, and Facebook could become more valuable to you if you're that kind of a person. Okay? Okay, I would like to note here, let's see if I can note this. No, there are no good examples there. Okay. The way you make a post on Facebook is it always takes you to your newsfeed, but what I do is the newsfeed is symbolized on an Android phone by this little image right here in the top left corner. But what I'll do is on many pages on Facebook, up at the top of the page, there's a little box that says, what's on your mind? And that's their invitation for you to make a post. And when I click on that, what's on your mind box, this dialog opens up over here, and this is the area where I can enter my text, okay, about what I'm writing. So I tell my peanut butter and jelly story here, and then I click on the photo video button right here, and it opens up my photo album on my phone, and I take the picture of the peanut butter or the jelly jar, and I can attach it to the post. And I click that. And so it makes that post for me. And there's more information I'm going to share with you about posts later. But before we leave the slide, that little story in the lower right-hand corner on Psychology Today, there's a lot of evidence that people like us, especially people who are retired, get a lot of value out of social interaction. And there's evidence that the social interaction, just like Facebook, will help us enjoy our lives a little bit better. And believe it or not, help us stay a little bit healthier, live a little bit longer. And while we may seeing a kid on their phone today versus when I was a kid staring at Bluetooth is that the TV is one directional. They're giving you your stuff, you're sitting there listening to it. When you see kids on the phone interacting socially, they're exchanging information with friends. And so that's a social interaction, and I see a value in it. Now, sometimes they're watching a YouTube video and it's pointless. But many times there's social interactions. I see that value, and there are scientific evidence that social interaction for people like us is especially good. All right, enough commentary there. I'm making a post. When I make a post, who is going to have the opportunity to see my post? Well, you get to choose what Facebook calls your audience. Who am I going to make available to be able to see this post? When I make a post with my grandson, I only want to share that with people that I know, who are my friends. And so every post you make, up the top, you get a choice. Who can I share this with? And you can choose friends. So only your Facebook friends will have the opportunity to see that post. So even if a stranger goes to your Facebook page, they will not be able to see that picture of my grandson because that person, stranger, is not my friend. Once I've made them my friend, there's a whole selection of other posts on my page that now become available for them to see. Similarly, whenever Facebook is doing its algorithm, it's not going to take that friends-only post and show it to the public. Now, when I was up skiing mountain high, I make that public, anybody can see it, and so if anybody went to my Facebook page, they would see that picture of me skiing. The menu for your choice is when you click on that friends button, this pops up, and you can see the choices available to you are public, friends, which is what I commonly use, or friends accept. So for instance, somebody's in college, they happen to be friends with their parents, friends with their drinking buddies, they got to a bar, they get drunk, they want to share the picture with their drinking buddies, but not their parents. So they choose friends accept, and they take mom and dad off the list. Okay? And then there's always the only me. If you want to say maybe you've taken a vacation trip and you've got tons of pictures from Vienna, Austria, and you want to archive them or put them in a chronology on Facebook, you can do that, and then you make the post for only me, and so only you can see them. Now, Facebook may use that data to show you ads for your next trip to Austria, but nobody else will be able to see those posts, okay? Got to remember, if we give it to Facebook, they're going to use it, okay? By the way, Facebook doesn't sell your data, okay? They use it in order to feed you ads. Okay, so I'm on an Android phone, I'm sorry, I'm on an iPhone. I'm on an iPhone right here. What I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about ads on what the control you have. So if you're on an Apple phone and you go to the setting, I'm sorry, I'm in Facebook. Where am I? I'm in Facebook. Oh, no, okay. Okay, I'm in Facebook right now. I click on the little three lines down here, which is my settings for Facebook. And it brings up this long selection of settings that I can control in Facebook. This is on an iPhone. And I scroll all the way to the bottom. At the bottom, I'll see something called Settings and Privacy. When I click this little arrow, it flips upside down and it exposes more settings. I'm going to choose this little settings button here. This screen opens up. There are lots of settings that you can affect in Facebook, and if you want to know more of them, come to my Facebook 101 class. But for today, I scroll down to Ads, and I click on Add Preferences. When I click on Add Preferences, it brings up this window. I'm going to click on Add Settings. A lot of menus we got to go through, right? Very complicated. I get to this screen on the left-hand side, and this is an important screen that I want you to be aware about because you may read an article in the Wall Street Journal today that talks about what it considers to be an abuse of privacy. I personally think it's somebody didn't read the terms and conditions. Okay? But read this. It says that ads based on data from partners, Facebook's partners. To decide which ads we show you, we use data that advertisers and app developers and publishers provide us, Facebook, about your activity on Facebook company, off of Facebook company products, which means you're wandering around the internet on a New York Times website, and New York Times is a partner with Facebook. And so the New York Times will use, the New York Times and Facebook will use that information to connect you, and it will show, even if you never searched for New York Times on your Facebook app, New York Times will place an ad on Facebook that you will see because the two companies are connected. And here's the way they do that. when you register for a Facebook account, you give them your email address. You have to do that. Don't have to, but you do. Then you go to New York Times, and sure, how do they identify you with the New York Times? Well, you've created an account with an email address. Well, what the New York Times says is, hey, I've noticed when this person is on New York Times, they're clicking on a lot of ads for kitty litter, okay? And so some advertisers, some kitty litter seller goes to the New York Times and they want to see ads. So what the New York Times does is they go to Facebook and they say, Facebook, I've got this list of 10,000 email addresses of people who click on kitty litter ads. Facebook, take these 10,000 email addresses. If they have Facebook accounts, feed them this kitty litter ad. And so that's how that connection is made. And so some people might see that as Facebook using data from your non-Facebook activity. But what it is two organizations who are interested in advertising and using the benefits of their knowledge of a particular customer. And that customer's unique identification would be their email address or some other information. So Amazon's going to do the same thing, because Amazon knows that you bought a pair of running shoes, and they're going to go to the New York Times, and they're going to say, hey, New York Times, here's 10,000 people who bought running shoes. I would like you to place an ad in the New York Times if they have a subscription, because the Amazon doesn't know that you have a New York Times subscription. They just give them 10,000 addresses, and they say to Amazon, if these people have an Amazon account, who doesn't? If these people have an Amazon account, show them an advertisement for Nike underwear. Because you bought Nike, you bought them on Nike sneakers. And that's how they make that connection. And again, Facebook never told the New York Times that you had a Facebook account. They exchanged, they gave them the email addresses to use. And that's the disclosure in Facebook's terms and conditions about how it shares information. Now, what you can do, the choice that Facebook gives you is, over on the right-hand side, it says, Facebook says, do you want me to use this information to show you ads that are relevant to you? If you say no, Facebook still has the data. They just stop showing you relevant ads. So you're not preventing Facebook or New York Times or Amazon or Google or anybody from using the information they know about you. It's just that they can't show you an ad. You're diminishing the effectiveness of the ad program. Okay? You're not keeping the data from them. Okay, like I said, if you want to know a lot more about Facebook, please come to the Facebook 101 class. Did you have a question?
Yes. You aren't really addressing the fact that Facebook doesn't sell your data to third parties.
Facebook does not sell your data.
I know, but they do sell access to your data.
Well, what they do is
then we sell it to other data brokers.
Well, what I'm talking about is access to your data. If Facebook sold your data, it would be one of those things where, okay, it's gone now. Right now, what do I have to make money on, right? So what they do is they effectively sell access to your data, meaning they've got this pool of data on you, and by allowing people to come to you with a list of email addresses, they're using that data to be able to feed you ads. Now, the woman might be referring to research that Facebook got into trouble with
Cambridge Analytica.
Pardon me? Cambridge Analytica, where some researchers said, hey, we're doing some social research, will you allow us to use the data in our social research program? And Cambridge Analytica ended up using that data for other purposes. Okay?
And influenced American elections.
And so then what happens is that Facebook recognized that a particular effort it was trying to make to help this organization do social research ended up coming back to bite them. Okay? And so they since have limited their access to the data for researchers. So now we've got academics who have less data available to them to do their social research because it was used by a particular party. Okay? But it taught Facebook a lesson. And we're still in the beginning of this, and so Facebook, Google, and anybody who uses data that they know about you to advertise has got to be much more cautious. And so I forgive Facebook, they're learning. They're a company that needs to make money, and they're always going to be pushing the envelope. And what we as the citizens do by complaining and creating a problem and boycotting is we keep them in their place. And that's the way society has always worked with businesses. Okay? Okay. The old-fashioned way of delivering news required printing press, a professional journalist, and lots of capital to run a business, right? Anybody see this headline? Okay. I won't repeat it for you. Okay, well this is all was done in the old days though, right? Is it took a lot of money, capital to be able to get into the news business. Well, you know what the internet did was it made it easy for people to publish news, right? Made it really easy for people, you and me, to be able to go out and provide news. The benefit is it democratizes news. No longer is the news in the hands of the people who have the capital to run the business, and they don't get to decide what's news to you. Now our fellow citizens do. Well, what this requires is a little bit more intelligence, though, on our part, as consumers of news, to determine what's fake news and not. Okay. Well, anyways, Jeff Bezos and his particular problem with Mr. Pecker was that he thinks Mr. Pecker is blackmailing, okay, trying to extort money from him. So what does Mr. Bezos do? He owns the newspaper, right? But would you expect it to be reasonable for him to go to the Washington Post and say, print this? No, that's probably not such a good idea, right? So what he does is he uses a blogging app called Medium. And Medium was founded by the same people who founded Twitter. But some people have realized that Twitter, at the time, gave you 140 characters to put your to state your story. Well, Mr. Bezos knew that 140 characters, Mr. Bezos knew that 140 characters wasn't enough for him to tell the story about how the Inquirer was trying to extort money from him. And so what he did is he used a blogging app called Medium. And he wrote his story, and he explained to the public how this happened. And it was really great. And I found the link to that Medium article in the New York Times. I was reading my reputable news source, the New York Times, and I found a link to the Medium ad, and I went and read Mr. Bezos' email post. And so it was very informative, and I learned a lot about what he had to say. You know, so that gives us, the citizens, the way to be able to do that. Okay? Now, I went over to Medium and I was thinking about starting an account, and you know, he tells you you can log in with your Google account or your Facebook account or sign up with an email address. And we're going to talk a little bit later about privacy if we get to it, but I want to make you aware that the advantage of using Google or Facebook to sign into an account is you don't have to create new credentials and another password that you need to remember if you use Google or Facebook to log in. But if you use Google or Facebook to log into an account, those companies are going to exchange information about you to serve you more relevant ads. And so I want to caution you, the pro and the con. If you're password challenged, these are good things for you. But you have to recognize if you take advantage of that, there's an exchange of information about you so that they can better advertise. So anyways, I went and I signed up for a Medium account. It asks me what my preferences are. My news preferences are, they are not politics. And so I told them that, and sure enough, in my news feed on the Medium app, it's nothing about politics. It's about other interests than I've expected. And that's the advantage of using an app versus using the website, is when I use the Medium app, it knows what my preferences are and it feeds me information of what's interested me. Other than that, you have to recognize that the people who write in Medium are not necessarily professional journalists. Jeff Bezos is not a professional journalist. Okay, the real reason I quit reading newspapers, I got tired of seeing continued on page 8024, continued on page 870. I got tired of that. I kept touching the newspaper and it would not flip the page automatically on the hyperlink to take me to the right page. It was just too much work. And so in 2006, I bought a Kindle. Started getting my Wall Street Journal on Kindle. The New York Times app, one of the real benefits is you read the story, you've got all those hyperlinks that are embedded in the story that can take you to the related supporting material to be able to get to it. And so I find that tremendously valuable. And sure enough, I'm still seeing advertisements just like the old days. Okay? Okay, the other advantage of an app, and this is the New York Times app, is it has a share button up here. The website does not have a share button. If I click the share button, it brings up this dialogue in the app where how do I want to share the story. And a lot of times I'll read something interesting, and at times I want to share it with my wife, so I'll text her. I'll click the texting link. It launches the texting app. It populates the field with a hyperlink to the article, and then all I have to do is pick my wife's name off the list, and there the link goes. And that's one of the benefits of using the app. And of course, you can see many, many ways of sharing that app. If I wanted to share it on Facebook, which I don't, but if I wanted to share it on Facebook, I could click that, it would launch the Facebook app and pre-populate it with a link to the story. All right, we're going to skip that. Okay, passwords. Don't write your passwords on paper. Please do not write your passwords on paper. When you lose it, somebody steals it, it's not backed up, house burns down, I'm out of luck. I talked to, just talked about this briefly. We see this a lot, and I want to encourage you that if you have a password challenge, consider using Google or Facebook to sign into accounts. But I have some other options for you with different apps, okay? There's an app called, a password manager app called LastPass, which happens to be one of the highly rated apps. I do not use this app, although I tried it for the purposes of this presentation. And what the nice thing about it is it gives you an encrypted way of storing your password, your credit card information, much private information on your phone, and you can synchronize it across your different devices using the cloud. And it's highly rated. I use, there's some online sites that I use whenever I'm doing research about something I know nothing about. I'll go to a particular website and it'll show me reviews, and this is a highly rated app. But you have to, in this case, you have to pay money for a subscription. And so that makes me feel better because I know that they're not trying to use data to make money, they need my money to make money, okay? So what happens with this LastPass is once I install it and I launch it, it asks me for my fingerprint. So even if somebody picks up my phone and they get into my phone, they still need my fingerprint in order to be able to get into the app and see the passwords. And then once I've gotten into the app, it allows me to store passwords, secure notes, personal addresses, payment cards, meaning my credit card information, and even bank account information. Okay, I don't carry my bank account or credit card. Matter of fact, I'm actually using some of these apps. I'm quitting carrying credit cards. I'm stopping. I don't carry my ATM card anymore. I don't carry many of my credit cards anymore, and I'll explain that. But what's nice about it, though, is in the sure enough, see, I put my credit card in here, and so it's got my credit card listed. If I were to click here, it would show you all the information about my credit card. When I go on my phone and I go to a particular website, in this particular case, I'm going to Facebook. You'll notice that whenever I click in the password area, I get a little pop-up at the bottom of the screen. And that little pop-up, one of the choices is LastPass, which is that password manager. So if I were to click on LastPass, it'll actually go to the app, take the password, username and password, and paste it into Facebook's logon page for me. It remembers it for me. It makes it easy for me to use. That way I don't have to remember it. And I click there. But I also want you to notice, down below that, it happens to say keychain. That's another choice. All iPhones have something called keychain installed on them already. And keychain is where Apple stores your username and passwords that you use when you're using an Apple device. By the way, while we're talking about LastPass, no matter if I'm on Facebook, it'll remember my logon credentials. If I go to Amazon, it remembers my shipping addresses. If I'm creating a new account on a new website, LastPass will actually suggest a password for me that's a very complicated password, and it'll remember it so that I don't have to. Okay, so Apple puts all of your passwords in the keychain, which is stored on your phone and then synced to the cloud. Now it's kind of interesting because you might have to go and find that on your phone. Well, you know, Siri is a wonderful thing. If you tell Siri, what is my password, Siri will answer you. She will tell you what your password is. So sure enough, I say to Siri, what is my password? This screen launches over here, and it asks me for my fingerprint because it's authenticating me. It wants to make sure it is Jim Cenname who's asking Siri about Jim Cenname's password. I authenticate by touching the password sensor, and then Siri brings me up with this screen, and it'll list all of the apps that I've ever used on my phone where I've allowed my phone to remember the password. In this particular case, since I don't use an iPhone all the time, I'm only using this for demonstration purposes. There are only 2 apps that I've installed on my iPhone to remember password. So I click on my Facebook, and then it brings up my Facebook username, and that's not really it, and it brings up my password. So that way you can just ask Siri, hey Siri, what's my Facebook password? And it will tell you through the sequence of events. So quite honestly, even though password managers like LastPass are highly rated, I think with the sophistication of the phones today, I'm not sure you need one because Siri will do it for you. And I trust Siri more than I trust LastPass. And it's not that I don't trust LastPass, it's just that I've known Siri for a long time. Okay? So, similarly, Google has, if you have an Android phone, Google has a similar service, although unlike Apple, I haven't figured out a way to say, hey Google, what's my password? It doesn't know what to do with that. So what I have to do is I have to go into my settings on my Google phone, click settings, click passwords, and then it gives me a list of all of the apps and websites that I visited all of the usernames that I've recorded and all the passwords. And if I click the little eyeball, it'll show it to me. Okay, so Google has the same feature. It just doesn't, as far as I can tell, it doesn't respond to voice. So again, if you've got an Android phone or a Google phone, they will remember your passwords for you. So writing them down on a piece of paper is not a good excuse. Okay?
But I assume then, because every time you put in a password, it pops up, you want us to remember your password. You have to give it yes, or it's not going to remember it.
That's absolutely right. You have to give it permission. And if you don't want to give it permission to remember your passwords, I understand why you may say that, but then you have to rely on some other tool to remember your passwords. And I really want to encourage people not to use a piece of paper. Okay? Yes?
So if you put your password into your laptop, into your computer, is it going to get to your phone?
If you're using a Mac, and you put it into when you're using Safari to browse something, and it says, do you want to remember the password? And you say yes, it puts the password into your keychain, and Apple syncs that through the cloud, so that when you take your iPhone out and you go to that same website, Apple will know it. Okay? And you know what's really cool about letting the computer remember your username and password? Have you ever seen the trick that scammers try to use with websites? Is they'll say, come and you go get a phishing email and wants you to go visit your Wells Fargo website, except instead of Wells Fargo, W-E-L-L, it's W-E-11 because 11 looks like L-L, right? And they end up hijacking you. You don't notice that, okay, because you're not scrutinizing the URL, but Keychain does. Keychain knows when you go to Wells Fargo, spelled with W-E-11, it knows that's not Wells Fargo. And it will not give you the password. So that's the advantage of phishing, is that even if you get caught by the fisherman and they take you to the bogus website, if the URL doesn't match what your keychain is expecting, it is not going to populate the password. So that's a really good point on phishing. Not that they can't get you somehow, but it's one more barrier that they're looking out for you where you might end up just missing the link. Okay? Google has the same feature with Google Password. If you have a Google account, it offers to save your passwords. They're synced to all of your devices. Okay, payment methods as well. For instance, this is my Google account, and in settings, I just click on payment methods, and I'm allowed Google to save 2 of my credit cards. So that way, no matter what website I'm on, when I go into the purchasing screen, I double-click on the credit card number bar, and it'll tell me which card you want to use, Amex or Visa, and it'll populate the website for me. I don't have to remember that. Okay. Safe and secure browsing. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about two apps that are on your phone, and a third that you may want to consider putting on your phone. What I'm going to talk about here is Safari browser, which is on all iPhones, Chrome browser, which is on all Android phones, but Chrome is available for an Apple device if you choose to use it, and a third item called DuckDuckGo. But what I want to do before we get into this is I want to make you aware of the difference between a browser, which is Safari, Chrome, and DuckDuckGo, and a search engine, which is Google or Bing or Yahoo. They're not the same. With your browser, Safari, Chrome, or DuckDuckGo, you navigate the internet and you go to a web search site, a search engine called Google or Bing or Yahoo. And so, for instance, with Safari, the default search engine is Google. But you can make it Bing or Yahoo if you want, but I want you to know that there's a difference between the two, okay? Your search engine will remember stuff about you to feed you ads, but your browser can remember a little bit about you in order to feed you ads, okay? All right, so here we are. We've got the search engines, Google, Yahoo, and Bing, and here I am. I'm in a browser, and if I'm in a browser, and this browser just happens to be DuckDuckGo's browser, but if I go to Google's search engine, Google says, hey, you're not signed in, and if you sign in, you will be able to benefit from everything we know about you as you do your searches, right? So for instance, I showed you a search earlier where I typed Cal State University. If I'm signed in, Google says, hey, we know where Jim is, we know he likes Cal State University. Fullerton. And so if he does a search for Cal State University, we'll start feeding him relevant searches based on what we know about it. If you don't sign into Google and you do a Google search, Google doesn't know anything about you, and so you'll get more random information. The searches won't be as relevant to you. Okay, so that's why it asks me to log in whenever I go to search. Now, DuckDuckGo, if you want to search the internet semi-autonomously, and I'll qualify why it's semi-anonymously. If you want to search the internet semi-anonymously, consider an app called DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is both a browser and a search engine. Okay, so we download the browser to the website, DuckDuckGo, and we install it. And their motto is leave no trace. They specifically advertise that they do not track you, DuckDuckGo. Okay? So for instance, you want to visit Match.com, and there are certain people you don't want to know you're visiting Match.com, is you might want to use DuckDuckGo because DuckDuckGo doesn't track you. And so what that means is that once you leave DuckDuckGo, it doesn't keep a record of where you went. And it doesn't share your searches with anybody. Okay? And you see this little flame at the bottom of DuckDuckGo? If I push that little flame, it burns my history. See? Clear tabs and data. Or I can go to the settings box in DuckDuckGo's browser, and I can say, automatically clear my data when I leave the browser. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean you're completely private, but what it does is it makes sure that the history that's on your phone gets deleted when you stop using the browser. Okay? Similarly, but DuckDuckGo also has a search engine. And that's because when you use Yahoo or Google or Bing, and you're searching for items, and maybe you're searching for something personal, and you click on a link because you found the right search result, and that link takes you to that website, Google, Yahoo, and Bing will tell the website you go to, hey, he searched for these terms, and that's why we sent him to you. So that website has the benefit of knowing the terms you were searching for. So if you type in Nike shoes, and it suggests a shoe store, and you click on the shoe store's name and it takes you to the shoe store, that shoe store knows your search term were Nike shoes. And so it might start showing you Nike shoes immediately because it knew that's what you were searching for. DuckDuckGo won't do that. When it sends you to the shoe store, it won't tell the shoe store what your search terms were. Now, the problem with that, though, is that you've got to rely on DuckDuckGo's search engine to feed you relevant information. The true value of Google is because it has become so good at search, many people say that the searches are more relevant than anybody else. I'll get the answer I want if I go to Google. If I use DuckDuckGo's search engine, I might get random information and I'm scrolling through pages and pages trying to find the answer I'm looking for. Google's benefit is it's better at that than DuckDuckGo is. You pay the price in what you share them. Now, if you do choose to use your Chrome browser or your Safari browser instead of DuckDuckGo, each of those browsers has a private browsing mode called, Chrome calls, or Google calls theirs incognito, Apple's browser calls it private browsing. And if you go into those modes, that's when those browsers will not share information with you to other people. That doesn't mean the search engine won't, it just means the browser won't. So you don't need to install DuckDuckGo to get the benefits of DuckDuckGo's browser. You just have to remember, hey, this is a private search, I need to go into incognito mode, and then I can search privately. Okay? I was reading an article in the New York Times that talked about another level of privacy. And this other level of privacy has to do with how people can find out information about us as we travel the internet. We've been talking a lot about the information you put into the browser. But what this New York Times article said was, if you're out in the public using public Wi-Fi, for instance, we're here at the university, my phone is connected to the public Wi-Fi system here. Okay? Now, admittedly, at the university, I need to log into that public Wi-Fi service so that every university knows who I am. But if you're a Starbucks, that doesn't happen. Or your hotel that you're visiting in Vienna, Austria, they don't necessarily they have guest Wi-Fi, but you don't have to log into it. The problem with that is that whoever is providing that internet service knows something about what you're doing on the internet. Okay? They know, for instance, if I go to my hotel and I want to check my Gmail, and so I launch my computer, I log on to the local service, and I type into the address bar, gmail.com. That hotel knows where I'm going to gmail.com. Now, because Google encrypts all of the communication on its apps, it doesn't know what I'm going to do on Google's website, but it knows that I went to Google, okay? And there are arguments that say that if you're at Starbucks, there's somebody there snooping, all the people that are using the Starbucks Wi-Fi, to see where everybody's going and trying to see what information they can scrape about you. And what the New York Times is, they want to consider you using a virtual private network, or a VPN. And I'm going to explain what that is and the apps that you can get in order to give that to you. But I need you to know that we're taking an incremental step into paranoia here, okay? And so, hey, I subscribe to a VPN service and I use it when I'm on public Wi-Fi. Well, I'm a little bit paranoid at times about stuff. And I can explain to you the benefits. So here you are, you're at Starbucks. Here's your computer, Starbucks, your device, your phone, and you're going to use this public Wi-Fi, right, which all the other bad guys are on too, and they're looking for what they can scrape. Well, whenever you tell your phone, hey, I want to go to Facebook, I'm going to make a post here of somebody, somebody at Facebook, the VPN, Starbucks, effectively can know that you're going to Facebook. Now, because Facebook provides an encrypted connection, they don't know what you're doing there, they know you're on Facebook. And then you get to a server, and then that server goes out onto the internet. Well, what the VPN does is it creates an encrypted private, what they call a tunnel, to get you through this public Wi-Fi. And it takes you to that VPN's server, and that's when you go out onto the public internet. And so what they do is that VPN gets you through the bad guys, and they get you out onto the internet, and then from their computers out on the internet, it gets you to wherever your ultimate destination is. There's kind of a hopscotch effect, okay? And so the VPN is protecting you from what's between you and the computer you're headed to out on the internet, okay? It provides that protection from the bad guys. So for instance, if I want to visit Wells Fargo, I want to do some banking while I'm at Starbucks, I launch my VPN. That way Starbucks or anybody that's snooping, not only can't they see what I'm doing, they don't even know that I'm going to Wells Fargo on my phone. All they can see is that I've connected to this service, which I happen to use NordVPN as my service. Oh, that's all they can see, and it's encrypted so they can't see it. Then once my signal gets, my signal gets to VPN's or Nord's servers, wherever they are, then they send it to Wells Fargo and the connection to Wells Fargo is made. So NordVPN knows I'm going to Wells Fargo, so I have to trust NordVPN, okay? But at least I don't have to worry about Starbucks.
Is there a cost for this?
There is, and actually the question is there a cost to this? There is, and I encourage you to use VPN services that you have to pay for. Because if you don't have to pay for them, they have to make their money some other way, and I don't think that they can be trusted as much as people who are making their money except on my subscription fee. I think I pay NordVPN something like $50 a year for the service. It's a couple bucks a month, so I pay for it.
So it's worth it?
I think so. I think so. You should do your own research to make sure that you're comfortable with the VPN company. Go out and find out which ones are highly rated. Through my research, I picked NordVPN, but I'm not trying to sell that to you, okay? So for instance, when I go to Nord's website, they tell me, hey Jim, I can see that your IP address is 45-5177.28. That address is what the internet uses, so that when I send my request out onto the internet, wherever I go, Wells Fargo knows where to send the answer back. If it doesn't know my IP, whenever I'm doing an account balance inquiry, Wells Fargo needs to know where to send the data back to, and it sends it back to my computer that's got that particular IP address. Well, what Nord does is it sees the address where I'm coming from, and it remembers it, and then it goes out on the internet with another address. So that anonymizes me. So then it goes out on the internet with another address. And where this tends to be valuable is if you go to a communist country and you're a news reporter and you're updating your story for the New York Times and it's talking about something that the Chinese censors don't want to be out on the internet, is it hides what the journalist is doing on the internet. Once they launch their VPN, China's government can no longer see where that person's going, and so it helps protect their lives by using the VPN service. What it does for you and I is it just keeps the bad guys from knowing what we're doing if we're in a public Wi-Fi network.
Why don't you just use data when you Starbucks?
Well, that's a very good alternative. Why don't I just use my cell phone's data? And sometimes that's an excellent choice. is that your cell phone, you're trusting, in my case, I'm trusting T-Mobile, okay? So do I use my VPN when I'm using my cell phone? Not very often, okay? Because I trust T-Mobile. I don't trust the Wi-Fi service at Starbucks. So the man says, well, use your phone. I can do that. But let's just say that today I'm going to go take pictures after I'm done here at the bingo thing this afternoon, the social. Huge data files, right? I'm going to go to Starbucks in order to look through them and process them. Well, geez, I do not want to send all that data over my cell connection. I'll use a ton of data. So I log on to Starbucks Wi-Fi and use their data because it's free. But I might use my VPN so they don't know what I'm doing. But still, your hotspot on your phone is an excellent alternative if you're in a public situation and you don't have your VPN. Okay? And there are by the way, some websites that just won't work with VPN. They have some reason why they won't work with VPN, so you have to turn it off. And that's when I start using my cell phone as a hotspot, because I trust T-Mobile. Okay. In this particular case, when I'm using my VPN, it asks me, what servers in what countries do you want to connect with? Well, because I'm in the U.S. and I mostly trust the U.S. government, okay? Edward Snowden made me think twice about that, okay? But I mostly trust the U.S. government. If I'm doing everyday stuff, I'll use a server that's in the United States because remember, I'm hopscotching around the country on computers and I want my internet connection to be fast, so I want servers in the U.S., right? But there's some people that may not want to. For instance, if the feds want to know what you're doing, they'll just go into Nord's office and say, here's a warrant, give it to us, right? And so if you're really concerned about that, you use a server over in Europe where they have higher levels of privacy, where a warrant from the NSA may not work. And so if you use a Nord server in Europe, your connection is traveling privately encrypted to Europe, and then it's going out on the internet, so the NSA can't go there. Yeah, we're really talking about paranoia here, but these services offer servers all over the world, so that if you're in China, you aren't going to use a server that's in China because the Chinese can get that one. You'll use a server that's outside of China so that the Chinese government won't have access to your data. And many of these VPN companies tell you, hey, we don't, even though we can log what you do, we don't. Because they recognize the reason you're using the VPN is for privacy. So they guarantee you they do not log your traffic. Alright, so we've talked enough about paranoia. If you want to know more about it, please come to my Privacy and Security Online class. Okay, let's talk a little bit, we're going to change the topic and talk a little bit about saving money. Looks like we've got about 15 minutes left in the presentation. We're going to talk about sending money, how you pay people money. And in the old days, we used to write checks and use cash. And this is so 20th century, okay? So we've got to change that. Can you imagine, and I'm still guilty about this in some cases, can you imagine that we would take a piece of paper, we would give this piece of paper, write down our bank routing number, our account number, and give somebody our signature to a stranger. I know, I've done it, right? And this method has worked for decades, right? But in the modern times, when we hand somebody a check, we give them their bank account number, we tell them what bank we bank with, and we give them a copy of our signature in case they want to copy it. Okay? And so we need to think about other ways of sending people money other than with checks. Cash, I think cash is good for drug transactions, but quite frankly, I don't like carrying a lot of cash around in my wallet. Okay? You ever lose your phone or lose your wallet, right? Well, if you lose your phone, first of all, it's password protected and encrypted, and I've got my Find My Phone feature, right? Apple and Google are going to help you find my phone, and if I can't find my phone because it's traveling down the 57 freeway at 70 miles an hour away from me, I'm not going to get that phone back. I can wipe it. Google and Apple both let me wipe the phone. I lose my wallet. If I find it, it's going to be in the trash can, and the money is not going to be in it anymore, nor my credit cards. Okay? So, why would you want to use electronic means of transferring money? Well, you want to settle debt with a friend. You go out to dinner, and you have a little battle over who's going to pay the check. Somebody ends up winning reluctantly, and they'd say, wouldn't it be nice if we could just split the check, but nobody brought enough cash and all that stuff, right? So you can split the money, a bar tab with somebody. Paying your gardener, okay? Talk about what it's like to give a check with all that important information to some stranger, okay? Pay the gardener. Or know that your mortgage, your property tax payment actually arrived in time. And this is one of the things that used to worry me in the old days when I would pay my property taxes. So I'd write a check, I'd put it in the mail. How do I know when it gets there? Because you know, if it doesn't get there, the penalty if they're not paying your property taxes online is really, really high. It's like 10%, hundreds of dollars, right? And so I was always worried about that. Well, you know, with the taxes now online, you can pay your taxes online, so now I know when it's paid. So I now pay my property taxes electronically. Okay. So there's a service that I would bet you every one of your banks now offers, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to pronounce it Zelly. Is this electronic means of transferring money to somebody that you know and trust, but you don't want to give them cash or a check. This is not used to buy something on eBay. It's used to settle a bar tab, send money to somebody, or maybe for your tenants, if you're renting property, for your tenants to pay the rent. Okay? So if you take a look at these banks, Bank of America, Capital One, Chase, Citizens, all these banks and more offer the service called Zelly, and it's an electronic means of sending money from one person to another with only knowing that person's email address or their mobile phone number. You don't need their bank account.
But they also need to be on Zelly.
That's correct. They also need to be subscribing to Zelly. But the nice thing is that so many banks are partnered with it. As a matter of fact, Zelly is owned by half these banks. They've actually combined to create a company that enables this electronic transfer. And all it takes to become a member of Zelly is you go onto your bank's website and you register your email address or you register your mobile number. Okay? So I just went onto my Wells Fargo website. This is jimcenname@gmail.com. It's the email address that I'm associated with my account. So if you want to send me money, jimcenname@gmail.com is all you need to know. Okay? So then what we do is we launch the app. We punch in the person's email address or phone number, the amount of money we want to send them. We press the button, and for free of charge, that money goes, and it goes almost instantaneously. So here's a picture of my phone, and I launched my Wells Fargo app on my phone. And sure enough, one of the menu choices right in the Wells Fargo app is Send Money with Zelly, right there. So I click Send Money with Zelly, and I go through the process of picking the person, punching in their email address, and you're right, they do have to have an account. But quite frankly, if you were to pick somebody who doesn't have an account with Zelly, it'll send them an email and it'll say, hey, somebody's just sent you money. If you want it, go register your email address with your bank. Okay? And I can do this on the, by the way, I can do it on a web browser as well on my computer. Either way is a way of sending money. And then once I've sent the money, or when I've received money, I get a text message indicating somebody sent you money using Zelly, or you sent somebody money sending Zelly. This one at the bottom here in red is my tenant. I have a room that I rent out of my house. My tenant sends me monthly rent using Zelly. No more checks, no more cash.
Or late payments.
Well, it really helps with that, because when you make it easier for your tenant to pay, you increase the chances of getting it on time. And if I don't get that by late night on the night that it's due, on my text message, I can text her the next day. So I think it really encourages you not waiting for the check to come. Oh, I forgot to write the check. I send her a text message the day before saying, hey, rent's due tomorrow, here's what your utilities are costing you. I get the Zelly payment, and I get an email confirmation as well. So it's a very good communication routine. Oh, do not use Zelly for business transactions. You might say, well, hey, you're collecting rent from your tenant's business. Yeah, but I know my tenant. I know where she lives. If I don't get the rent, I know where to go to get it, okay? You don't buy something from a stranger. Here's one other thing I want to caution you about any electronic means of communication, whether it's this or Venmo or PayPal, because Venmo and PayPal are two other apps that offer exactly the same services, except they're not your banks. If you send money to somebody using their mobile phone number, okay, let's just say that mobile phone number is brand new to them. They just bought their first cell phone, they've never had one before, and they just got that, and then you decide to send the money. What happens is the person who had that phone number previously, that discontinued the number, they register that number with Zelly, that money is going to go to that other person. Okay? And so the reason I bring this up is because I've read a story in the paper where somebody sent money to a mobile phone number, and that mobile phone number happened to have been brand new to the person they're sending the money to, and previously belonged to somebody else who had registered it with OLLI. And so the money went to the wrong person. And so, in a sense, you need to know, in a certain regard, hey, is this really the person's number? Hey, person, to this woman's point, have you registered with OLLI? Another, maybe better way of doing it is to use an email address. Because it's likely the email address that you've had for a long time, and nobody else has registered it. It is unique to you, and nobody else has registered it with the service. So if you were going to send somebody money to a service and you're not exactly sure whether they're members of OLLI, I would use their email address and not their mobile phone number. Okay, that was that caution right there. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quick because we're trying to break in order to be able to coordinate between here and I want to talk about, real briefly, about Apple Pay and Google Pay. These are services where you can touch your phone to a device in the store and pay that way. And I thought to myself, well, why should I do that? I just take my credit card out of my wallet and swipe it, right? Well, I started, for the purpose of this presentation, I started using Google Pay, and I found that it's actually quite convenient just to take my phone out and tap it on the device, and all I have to do is unlock it using my fingerprint reader, zip, it's done, and I found that the transactions actually consummated much more quickly and very easily. And so I've actually enjoyed using Google Pay and Apple Pay. And the nice thing about these apps is that they, anytime you see this little symbol, which I think many of you have seen this little symbol on cash registers, is that's all you need in order to be able to use Apple Pay and Google Pay to pay. And in addition, with both Apple Pay and Google Pay, in addition to putting your credit card information in, you can also put your rewards. You've got a Starbucks gift card, a Target gift card that you got for Christmas. You can load both of these apps up with those cards so that you don't need to carry that plastic anymore. You're out with your friends, you decide to go to the restaurant that you have a gift card for. Oh, I left the gift card at home. No, it's loaded into your phone, and you can now use it in order to pay, so you don't have to carry that plastic anymore. If you're at the restaurant and you want to split your tab, both apps give you the ability to be able to pay using the mobile pay and then split it. And what Google Pay and Apple Pay will do, we send a request to your other party, just like OLLI will, to split the bill. We've added our loyalty cards, Apple Pay, it's the same program. What I want to remind you about Apple Pay, though, is that even though you can pay in stores, which is the primary use, when you use Apple Pay to send money to a friend, remember, Apple Pay only works on iPhones, and it only works on iPhones that have Touch ID. Google Pay works on any phone, including Apple phones, if they have Touch ID. So Google Pay is more broadly used to transfer money from person to person because it will work on any phone. Whenever you send money to a person who doesn't have an iPhone using Apple Pay, Apple will say to that person, hey, how about buying an iPhone so you can get that money? Okay? We talked a little bit about exclusivity at the beginning. Okay, that's enough of that social commentary. Okay, I'd like to go through the podcast, but I know we don't have enough time to do that. Now we want to wrap this up at 12:45. I've got 1 or 2 minutes for a couple of questions. Otherwise, I'd like to wrap it up. Yes, sir.
You say it works with Touch ID, but what about the latest phone, face recognition?
And that's a good point. The new iPhones have facial recognition, and yes, those will work as well. What it won't work is if an old phone doesn't have any biometrics on it. Okay. So if I take my phone, and many people are concerned about RFID. They're worried that if they just walk past the scanner, their credit card will get scanned. What happens with the phones is you can tap it all you want on the thing, but until you do that, it doesn't work. Okay, I tried it. I'm thinking, why is it? Oh, I gotta wait. I gotta light the phone up. I touch the Touch ID, and then the transaction happens immediately. Okay, so I don't have to worry about when I'm passing by the register about it scanning it because it needs that extra identification. Any other questions?
Yeah, like you said, you pay your property taxes and whatnot.
Yes.
Those people charge you a fee.
If you were to, the woman asked about being charged a fee when you use the websites to pay your taxes. I pay my federal income tax using the IRS's EFTPS, which is an electronic payment system that the IRS developed. I pay my California state income tax using the Franchise Tax Board's payment service, ftb.com, and I pay my property taxes using Orange County's website, which uses an external payment process. If you pay via electronic banking, meaning your bank account number, there's no fee. If you choose to use a credit card, you'll be charged a roughly 2.3% fee because the government is not going to pay the credit card fee for you. Okay, so, and if you use an ATM card, debit card, to pay those fees, there'll be like a 35-cent or $2 charge for you to use the debit card. I always use my bank account information to pay those bills, and I know when those payments are due on time. I send my taxes through TurboTax. I pay my tax bill on April 14th at the last minute by going online. By the way, if you choose to use the IRS's method, EFTPS, they make you register. And when you register, they mail you a postcard with a PIN. You've got to go back onto the website, punch the PIN in. So this process takes about 2 weeks. Don't wait until the day before taxes are due to try to go on and first pay your taxes online. Do it a couple of weeks in advance so that you can register. I think the Franchise Tax Board has a similar process. You need to register. Orange County property assessor, not the same way. You can pay that at last minute's notice. So, question, Ben?
On Facebook, if I got something from my daughter and I liked it, and a few days later I want to show a friend, oh, I want to show you what my daughter sent, and it's gone. How long does something...
Well, what you have to do, because you've seen it in your newsfeed already, it's likely Facebook's not going to show it to you again. You need to go to her page and scroll through her page, and you'll see the feed. And it's quite likely...
So it's still there.
It's still there, but it's easier to find if you go to your daughter's page and then scroll through her posts. Okay? I make like 1 post a week, and so if somebody misses a post by 4 weeks and I say, go look at my page, they only have to go back 4 of my posts to see it. They'll never see it in their newsfeed again. Too much time has gone by. It removes them for your feed. You're going to see them maybe once in your feed, you may not see them again. Okay? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. Let's say that you have a dinner bill that's $100. You're going to split it with somebody, and they're not a member of
Whatever service.
Right. If they're not a member of Zelle, do I bill the whole thing, the $100, or do they? How do they get their 50?
Well, what will happen is if you start to use a payment service and you want to split it with somebody who doesn't have an account set up yet, what happens is they'll get an email. Your money will not have gone for them until they register. And so what happens is, until they register, technically you can still get that money back. I did this with a friend of mine. He says, I'm just not going to do that. Well, the money came back to me. I got the money back. But as soon as they register and they take the money, there is no way to get it back. And so that's what you need to be aware of with those services. Even with Zelle online with banks, is once the money's gone, you are not getting it back. You cannot get it back. But if it goes to somebody who doesn't have an account, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal will attempt to get that person to set an account up so that they can get the money. What I would encourage you to do is ask the person, what service do you use? What I frequently see someone will say is, can I Venmo you the money? And the person will say, I don't have a Venmo account. Well, what do you have? Zelle. Okay, I'll send it through Zelle. That's what they'll do. Okay? All right, well, thank you very much. I'll stay up here for a few more questions. But